how'd you get started?
Well, I started when I was about 11 years old. I started writing poetry at first.
Okay.
That's how I started. And then started listening to the radio more, and I was watching videos on TV. And I think this is around the time like when Little Bow Wow like first came out.
That's way back.
You know, so I was like around his age, so I was like, wow, you know, kid on TV doing it, you know, if he could do it, I can do it. Then from there, just took off, just started writing, you know, just started developing my style and everything.
Now, at the beginning, were you, because right now I think you're more in line with Common. You got a conscious flow, right? So were you trying to do that at the beginning, or were you just trying to be, you know, hot, popular, whatever?
I was just trying to find myself in the beginning, you know, like whatever was popular on the radio, but actually telling my story. You know, at that age, you know, I wasn't trying to be censored. I was like writing rhymes and curses in it and everything. Like I just wanted to be different.
So how'd you get from that place to where you are today?
I guess just growing and maturing, you know, throughout the years, just seeing all the artists that's on TV and the radio. Then that's when I really started noticing, you know, the different aspects of hip hop. You know, you got the gangster rap, the conscious, you got the party wave. So I started really noticing that I was really influenced by artists like Tupac and Nas and Busta Rhymes. Like I liked the delivery and the storytelling.
Okay. What do you consider to be your style? What's your role?
I have no style. You know, I don't want to be one dimensional.
You have no style?
My style is basically it's unexplanatory. Okay. That's how I look at it. I have no style. Like,
so you're always recreating? Is that what you're saying? You're like a chameleon. Okay, you said okay. So why is that? Is that something that you're doing purposefully so that you can fit in wherever you go, or is that something you're doing for business?
No, that's just me in general.
Okay.
You know, besides the music, like I know how to adapt. And you know, you never want to put yourself in a box. You know, you wanna be, you know, on one end you want to be socially in contact with everybody, and then on the other end you want to let people know who you are.
Okay.
So I never try to put myself in one box. Like I'm the same dude that can be at a party and chilling with you, but the next day I could drop some knowledge on you.
I wanted to know, because this is what I thought was interesting. Where did the name Quik Sand come from?
Wow, Quik Sand, that's a long story because I had a lot of different names. Like,
so we got time.
You know, I started out with crazy names. I had like Little J, Young J.
Okay.
At one point I was MC Nice. Like just a bunch of whack names. You know, and then
did Cornbread ever come into the mix?
Nah.
No?
But with Quik Sand, it's like I really, you know, I was watching a movie one day where this dude was getting sucked into quicksand. And I was like, wow, it sinks you in. So when I thought of it, I was like, wow, I like the ring of that. I like how that sound, quicksand. You know, it's like once you meet me, you're gonna sink into me. You're gonna be drawn into me.
Okay.
You know, and then it also came up, you know, because I spell it different. I spell it Quiksand, and those letters actually stand for quite unique and crazy situations and never dumb. So that's how I actually came up with it.
Now, you said that in your name, you're never dumb, right? I've listened to some of your music today, before, and to me it seems like you're making a conscious effort to, on a certain level, educate people. Is that right? Yeah,
to an extent, yeah.
Okay. Now, why do you feel that that's important? Why is that something that you're doing?
Because of the way the industry is right now. I mean, everybody's out there. You got your hippies, you got your down south wave, you got your gangster rap, you got your pop, and it's like, you know, I wanted to just do something different. You know, I'm not the type to preach to you because I'm a young dude, but at the same token, I want to let people know that people that our age and our age group, we have something to talk about. Okay. And this is for the ones that look down on our genre, the ones that don't respect our genre. Because at the end of the day, we are the biggest genre influence, period, no matter where you are in the world. I mean, it's places. I remember one time I was looking at an ad and they had like a talent show. And I vividly remember the ad saying, we're looking for singers, dancers, actors, and at the bottom it said, no rappers, just talent. And I was
what?
Like, wow. It said no rappers.
Just talent?
Yeah. ...
No
just
way.
talent. Yeah, so it struck me. It's like, wow, how could somebody have the audacity to write that when hip-hop is the biggest influence in the world, period?
Do you remember the show that was for?
No, I actually don't. I was
That's
just,
crazy.
I was actually pissed off because I'm like, wow, I can't enter it now.
Just talent. I've never heard anything like that.
It's like
Just
rappers not talented now. So it's like I'm trying to not bring it back, but let you know that it's still here. You know, the wisdom is still here and the knowledge. You know, it's okay to party, it's okay to have a good time, but you gotta not even necessarily educate people, but just to let people know that your mind is on a different time frame. And you know, the same way a person could be influenced by a new dance or a new clothing style, you know, at the same time you could be influenced by some intellectual, let you know what's going on in the world. Because everybody's talking about, you know, the same thing, cars, jewelry, money, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, we got to let people know the struggle is still continuing. The struggle is still out there. You can never forget that.
Now, what aspects of the struggle are you trying to focus on and shine the brightest light on?
Poverty, you know, as far as politicians, you know, as far as police brutality, what's going on, you know, so far as the Eric Garner case, it's like, it's just certain things that's still going on that the radio is just not pushing in the sort of way. You hear, they're still out there. I mean, you have your J. Cole's, you have your Wale's, you know, you had your Most Def or your Common. But what's missing is that realness, that MC that's just real. You know, that's just on and off camera. They're gonna give you the same that you see, and that's what's missing.
In my intro for this, I said that that your style is kind of is like gully realism, right? It's like just cut straight to the quick. Here's what it is, and I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. Do you think that's going to turn some people away from your music, or do you think that's going to be beneficial for getting your message out?
I think it'd be beneficial in a way. You know, like I said, some people not gonna want to hear it, but then you're gonna have people that's gonna want to hear it. So once those people that actually do like it, the ones that don't like it is gonna follow up. Because nowadays, if you look at music, it's all about an image. It's all about a trend. And people follow what's going on. Honestly, people don't actually know what they like no more. They follow what the next person like. So eventually, people will catch on.
Do you think that since you're in the rap game, do you think that rap has moved more to just being something you hear in the club when you're trying to have fun, as opposed to what it originated as, which is, you know, a voice for the people, a voice for oppressed people?
Well, to a certain extent, that is a lot of what you hear. But at the same token, you know, it's like this saying, history repeats itself. A lot of the original format is coming back. A lot of the real MCs is coming back. The creativity is coming back. The originality is coming back.
Now, is that mainstream or is that underground? Because I'm not heavy into rap, but I listen to, you know, 105, and I don't hear too much conscious stuff on that station. And when I go down to visit family in the South, you know, I don't hear too much on their stations either. It's all, you know, pretty much dance music, you know.
Well, I would have to say it's more underground that's coming back. But like I said, you have those few spots that's on the radio. Like when I mentioned like J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar. You know, as far as mainstream goes, that little spot right there, it shows you that it's coming back. But it's mostly underground.
Now, those are really big names. So, and I'm not trying to press you on this, but how are you going to get your voice out there to hit the mainstream so that it can affect masses? Or is that something you want? Do you want to just you know, touch people in your neighborhood, or are you trying to go global with what you're doing?
I'm trying to go global. I'm trying to let everybody hear what's going on. And the way I'm going to do that, you know, it's like when people ask you what separates you from this artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't necessarily compare myself to the next artist. All I can say is that I'm just going to be a canon. You know, you got to be relentless. You got to have that I don't care attitude. Like, you're going to hear what I'm going to say. You know, especially with all the garbage that is being presented to the public, you just got to have that motivation and that I don't care attitude, you know, because, hey, even the most wackest person is on the radio selling, but they had that determination, like, you know, they had that attitude, like, I don't care, I'm going to get it. So that's how I got to be. It's like, you're going to hear me regardless. I'm going to make you hear me regardless, you know.
How long have you been doing this as a profession?
Well, I could say professionally, because I finally started recording around 2008.
Okay.
That's when I started getting into the booth, and I would just, just finding myself as an artist. So, I mean, to round it up, like I said, I've been writing and performing since I was 11, but I really came into it around 2008 while still developing my style. And then around 2010, 2011, that's when I met E. Mennel of the famed Patterson group, Brothers of the Blakmarket. I met him at an open mic. And then once I met him, I got a little bit of the more history and understanding. So now that I'm mature, I done been through the stages of trying to find out, what type of artist I'm going to be, what type of songs I'm going to make. I done became a father. I have a 3-year-old son. So now it's more clear to me. Now I know what I want, because I wasn't ready as far as business-wise before. I was just happy to be making music, like where I could hear my voice.
So you knew the artistic stuff.
Yeah.
But the dollars and cents, that just wasn't what you weren't there yet.
Yeah, now I'm ready business-wise for the determination. All right, it's not just about recording, let's let person hear it. All right, it's like, let's push this, let's get this out there. You know what I'm saying? You gotta hear it, tweet it, Facebook it, whatever, know.
What is that, what's an extension of that business knowledge that you're gaining, that practical stuff that new artists need to know that they don't know?
Just appreciating the history, because a lot of artists don't know their history.
Why is that important? Like, why is me knowing, NWA and all that stuff important to what I'm doing now?
So you can separate the realness from the fakeness. You have to know your history, like your forefathers. You have to know they laid down a foundation. You have to know this is where it came from, because there's a lot of artists now, you'll think it's the top-notch thing or it's the real deal when it's really not. So you got to really know. That's how I look at it. Like I said, I've been, ever since I was a kid, my grandmother, my grandparents, not even my mother, my grandparents put me on to hip hop. I remember
your grandparents?
My grandparents. My grandfather, he was a big West Coast. He had all the Ice Cube, the NWA. My grandmother, she put me on to the Biggie and the Nas and all that.
First person I've ever heard say their grandparents put them on the rap. My dad, he knows a lot of the originators. He tells me stories and whatever. But my grandparents, never. Never, ever, ever in a million years would I think my grandparents would know anything about rap.
Yeah,
so I guess.
So you basically say I have an old soul. I have an old soul, even though I'm a young dude. Like I know my history.
How has having a family now affected your music?
Wow, it just made me open my eyes up. I'm not just doing this just to be doing it for a hobby. Like, if this is something that I'm really going to be looking forward to pursuing, then I have to give it my all. And it's not just for me anymore. It went from me being like, wow, I want to get famous. Now it's not even all just about being famous. It's about being a role model for my son. A lot of people look at artists now like, as their role models. And no one, all in honesty, no one wants to be a role model. People just want to be their self. But at the same token, if I'm going to be a role model, if I'm going to start being a role model for any child, it has to be for my own child. First and foremost, So now that I'm in this business and learning and creating more, that goal is to take care of my son and have him look up to me and be happy and like, wow, my daddy's on TV. Wow. And it'll give other kids inspiration,
What does being a father mean to you? Aside from the business, just you and your son?
Life, because I unfortunately, I don't know my father. I never met him. I'm never gonna meet him. So it's important to me that my son doesn't have to grow up and say that he doesn't have both of his parents, even though we're not together. But at the same token, at least he has both of his parents by his side. He had, growing up in Patterson, it's poverty stricken. It's the same thing every day. But not a lot of people have their fathers. So I'm proud to say that even with my son being a young age, he knows who daddy is. He doesn't have to call another man daddy. Another dude doesn't have to take my place and be stepdad. No, he knows that he only has one father, and that just means life to me.
Let's talk about Patterson. You're from there, right?
Yeah.
What was your experience there growing up?
Wow.
Must have been something. You just smiled.
Born and raised there, It's just like being in the hood. You got your bad times or your good times. But Patterson is really what you make it. A lot of things happening in Patterson. You know, it's always been drug dealing. It's always been prostitution. It's always been crime and violence. You know, but there's ways to get around that. It's like being a good boy in the hood. You know how to, you know your places. You know what I'm saying? Like even with me being in the gulliest neighborhood, you know, people know me. You know what I'm saying? But it's because of the person I am that, you know, I stick to myself. You know, I mind my business, and you know, my mind is on other things. I don't get involved with the activities that go on there. Never did. You know, I never sold a drug in my life. You know what I'm saying? I'm proud to say that. You know, I never sold a drug in my life. You know, I never thought about gang banging.
Why are you proud to say that when that
I'm proud to say
completely
that
contradicts like the whole, at least middle America idea of what rap and hip hop is about? Thug life, drug hustling, a lot of women.
I'm proud to say that because it takes away from the myth how middle America looks at the black youth. Not every kid is a drug dealer. Not every kid is a gangbanger. Not every kid is a rapper. It's just showing you and giving other people inspiration that you don't have to do what you see. And that's not taken away from the people that does that, because everybody has a story. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has a struggle. So most of my friends gang bang or sell drugs, but I'm not knocking them for that, because everybody has a choice and there's a reason behind everything. But my reason was always, no, I'm not gonna do that. You know, I know the outcome of all that. You know, so I just always kept that in my mind. Like, listen, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that. You know, and that's not taken away from people that I know that do that. You gotta do what you gotta do, and I don't knock nobody hustle.
What is Patterson to you? Is it home? Are you going to stay there, or is it like a place where you're like, okay, it is what it is, and when I get to the point where I can fix it, I'll come back and address some of the issues?
Well, Patterson definitely made me the man who I am today. I wouldn't be who I am without Patterson. You know, and of course, you know, once I get to that certain space in my life, of course I would come back and definitely rebuild. I mean, I definitely want to get my family out of Patterson. You know, just to give them, let them know, show them this more to life out there than Patterson. But I will never forget where I come from. I will never leave my people behind. I will always come back and let them know, like, hey, even if I am on TV, you see me on the billboards, whatever, I'm part of this struggle. This struggle helped raise me, and I'll never forget that. I will always come back and try to do something positive and rebuild it and let people see Patterson in a different light. Because Patterson, it is what it is, but Patterson is not all bad. That's all of what you see on the TV. But there's actually some talented people in Patterson. There's some good people in Patterson. You just never get a chance to see it because that's not what the news show you. You always see the negativity.
What are some of the stereotypes of Patterson that you can firsthand say, look, that's BS?
That we're all criminals. You know, not everybody's a criminal. Not everybody's, you know, a drug addict. Not everybody's not a, you know, following what this person doing. You actually have some talented people. You have people that's good in academics, that's going to college. You got people that's getting scholarships, going to play ball or whatever. But all you see and hear is about the homicides and the crime rate and the drug dealers. It's just like the same in every hood. I mean, it's a part of the hood, but that's not everything that's in the hood.
Now, like I said in the beginning, I think you're like Common. You've got a conscious mind, and you're trying to get that message out. What exactly, in trying to get the message out, let's see how I can word this correctly. What exactly are you, no, not what exactly. How exactly were you able to overcome those stereotypes? Did they affect you in terms of your self-esteem? Like everybody's thinking, oh, he's black, he's got to be a crook. Oh, he's black, he's no good at this, da 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 da. Because you have a level of success. And I always say anybody who has success is worthy of being applauded. Whatever they're doing something right. So how did you overcome that, being from Patterson and having to deal with those issues?
It was through the music, man. Basically through the music and entertainment. Like, I've always been drawn to the radio and the TV, and I always kept that in mind. Like, I could never see myself being a doctor or a lawyer. You know, I don't play sports or nothing, but it was always something about looking at a movie. It was always something about like, wow, that looked fun. That looked like a whole another life I can just escape and just be away from like an hour or two, or just being on the radio. It's like, wow, I always kept that in mind. Even as a child, it's like, I want to do this. Even before I started doing it, I was like, I want to do that.
Do you see yourself as a storyteller?
In a way, yeah. Because I'm basically telling my story and, you know, my peers' story. In a way, I am a storyteller.
How do you come up with your lyrics?
It's kind of hard to explain. It all depends on how I'm feeling at the moment. You know, rather I'm going through something bad or good, or if I get a beat and I just listen to it for days and then just get into it. It all depends on my emotion. It all depends on how I feel.
Okay.
You know, sometimes I can just get a beat and not even write. I can just freestyle to it. It all depends on how I'm feeling.
I want to stay with the feelings thing. I was going to go somewhere else, but I want to stay with the feelings because I would think that when you're rapping specifically to get a message out, that you're not really in tune with how you feel, because you say, okay, here's an issue, here's an issue, here's an issue, and I want to address this, that, and the other. Maybe you might be hurt or angry about an issue, but how do your feelings really play a role in how you shape your stories?
Well, depending on how I'm feeling, rather if I'm angry or mad, it plays out as in, you know, even if it's not necessarily concerning me as an individual, I'm speaking for the next person. You know, as long as somebody hears it and be like, wow, because you can say something that you're not even going through, but the next person can be going through it. And as long as I'm able to reach just that one person, that means I did something.
Now, in that moment, do you have emotional attachment to what you're saying? Because you're saying that you write from how you feel.
Yeah.
And if you're telling the story, but this is someone else's issue, are you, does that feeling feel natural to you?
Most definitely.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's something for me to just take in. I'm sorry, I'm learning as I go here. So,
Sorry.
you know, if I'm just sitting here looking like, okay, that's what it is. All right, so let's go back to your story. I want to find out, who is Quik Sand? So we know you started rapping when you were young. We know you found out about Bow Wow, and that's really what kind of got the ball rolling. But who are you really and truly?
Quik Sand is just, I'm an original individual. You know, like I said, I could blend in. You know, I'm the type of person that could chill with the gangsters and the nerds. You know, I could be the class clown, I could just be laid back, you know. But I always kind of like just stuck to myself, always been myself, you know. I never try to be something that I'm not. And Quik Sand is just, if I could just sum up who I am in one word, I would just say, just real. You know, I'm just real about everything. I'm not gonna sugarcoat. You know, like I said, my zodiac sign, I'm an Aquarius, you know, and we known for being brutally honest. I'm just going to give you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. But at the end of the day, the truth is just like rain. It fall on everybody, so you're going to get the truth.
Is that something that was instilled in you from your mom or in your grandparents, or is that, you know, you said you're an Aquarius, is that just something, that's just who you are, just point blank?
That's just who I am.
Okay. So what was given to you from your family? What, outside of just the general interest or introduction to rap and hip hop from your grandparents, what did they contribute to who you are today?
Well, my grandparents actually raised me.
Okay.
So they did a big part. You know, they brought me up. They kept me out of trouble. You know, they made sure that I was never involved in anything that wasn't appropriate. You know, regardless of when I got older, went out to venture on my own or not, I always had that level of respect. You know, I can honestly say I was raised right. You know, and a lot of people can't say that. You know, regardless of how dysfunctional it may have been during my time growing up, to this day, no matter what I went through, I always got that respect for people. If you respect me, I'm gonna respect you. You know, it's that saying. It's a time and place for everything. Like that was instilled in me at a very young age.
Do you feel that that the dysfunction that you grew up in was natural?
Nope.
No.
But at the same time, it had to happen. Like I said, it made me who I am. You know, I went through a lot growing up. You know, just me being the oldest out of all my brothers. I'm the oldest out of 9 grandchildren. So it's like I'm the leader. So a lot of that was installed in me before it was installed in them. So it's kind of like I had to step up.
Did you get that your role model speech a lot? Like, you have to do such and such because you're the oldest and the little ones are looking at you as an example?
Yeah, I got that a lot growing up.
Now, I asked the dysfunction question because what I've noticed is a lot of people think their dysfunction is unique, like, oh, you know, something to be ashamed of. But what I see is everybody's got dysfunction. You know, something's broken in everybody in some way. People don't want to admit it, so they always think that, well, my dysfunction is completely different from everybody else's, but everybody's broken. So I wasn't trying to hit you with that. I just wanted to make sure I explained that. So my final question, because our time is running out, what do you want people to know about your message, about who you are?
I just want them to know that anything is possible. You know, no matter what you do, put your mind to it.
Instead of me talking about Gucci and Louis, I'd rather just kick facts. I think differently. I don't know what got into me, seeing things from another point of view through the Hennessy. I know my history. Welcome to my